Yeah, it's blowing my mind. Yeah.
I want to get into ideas. How do you come up with YouTube content ideas? This is the most important part, actually, more important than the script writing itself. Because I know everyone's like, oh, like I want to write the script with AI, right? But actually, if you want results, even before AI starts, it's before the script starts, it's just the idea. How I kind of look at it is like YouTube is, it's like YouTube packaging. Okay. Now, packaging is really just your thumbnail, title. Sorry, it starts with idea, thumbnail, title, first 30 seconds, right? If you sat down and you were to make a YouTube video, I would spend maybe like maybe like 60% of your time on this. Okay. Could be 70% of your time, but let's just call it 60 for this video or this stream. Now, the script itself, I guess the call to actions, stuff like that. I just call it the script. I'll spend, like 40% of my time on the script. Okay. So you might be like, oh, that's weird. Like you spending your whole time on the like thumbnail and the idea and the title. Yeah, I am. Because it's more important, right? Because, when you're on YouTube, like what gets you to click? It's the title, thumbnail, and then you'll hover over it. Maybe you'll see like a couple clips and you'll be like, okay, I'll watch the video, right? If they don't click, it doesn't matter how good your content is. It's just not, they're not going to click. That is the most important, right? Every video, you just want to look at your CTR and then your watch time and then like how many people still watching at 70 seconds. At 70, sorry, 70 seconds. I personally go for 70%, but like every niche is kind of different. So for entertainment, like people go for higher. For education, from what I see at least, it's a bit lower. Um, so click-through rate, it's just like when somebody's on your YouTube channel, what is the chance they're going to click on your video, right? So they're going to go to their homepage and be like, oh, okay, let's watch Alex Mosley today, right? So you're competing against everybody, you know? Like you're competing against gaming, anime, hot girls, like you're competing against everybody, not just your competition. That's why this is so important. Okay, so if you're making your videos and you're spending like 90% of your time on the script, and then you're going back, oh, what should I title this? What should the thumbnail be? Let me just take a screenshot and put it on. It's not going to work. Okay, because everyone else is spending a majority of their energy here. So how are you going to compete? Okay, so like when I'm doing thumbnails and stuff, right? Like I'll create, multiple variations of an idea. Okay. So I'll be like, oh, okay, the system is rigged. That's kind of interesting, but can I change the copy to make it more interesting? And an important note is a good thumbnail is not always the prettiest thumbnail. Okay, that's a good point. A good thumbnail is not the, I guess the most polished, right? Is not the most polished thumbnail. Okay, so what do I mean by that? It's like, okay, when somebody comes out with a thumbnail, like a big creator comes out with a thumbnail, looks super polished, everybody tries to copy them, right? The problem with that is it's been overdone, it's overplayed, and when everyone looks the same, even if you have a polished thumbnail, it's not going to hit. So sometimes the better thumbnail is like something simpler, right? So you'll see some YouTubers, they'll just have like, I'm see, just go on my YouTube right now, or okay. So it's like this one's like nothing special, right? It's just like a guy sitting on the street, Ho Chi Minh, and then there's a girl, and it has like Ho Chi Minh. But for a lot of people who are thinking about traveling, this might catch your curiosity, right? Not every thumbnail has to be like a Dan Martell AI background thumbnail, right? Like you don't need all these fancy graphics. What you need is taste. Okay, taste is the key word here. And that's like knowing what people want. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's pretty much what it is, right? And like knowing what's cool. So if you look at, here's a good example of, and it depends on your demographic, right? So let's say like this guy, Frugal Aesthetic, he talks about fashion, but he's like kind of funny, okay? And in his thumbnails, he doesn't even show his face. It's just a hat and it says explained, or it'll be like modern jeans explained. But the thing is, he understands his audience so well that he can do this. He knows that he just puts like he knows in his audience, everyone's like wondering like how come like these bell bottom pants are like are they popular now? Maybe in his demographic, right? So he can do this and just put like quotes around it, right? And that's having taste. If you took a guy like a corporate guy and put him like, let's say you got a like a 9 to 5 worker and you're like, all right, you're gonna make a thumbnail for frugal aesthetic. That guy's not gonna know how to do this because he doesn't have the taste in the market. He's probably gonna try to overproduce something, right? So pretty does not mean good, and having like fancy elements and stuff doesn't make it good either. Okay, does that make sense? It's super important. It's a detail, but it's very important. But I want to go to the idea side. So you might be trying to create a YouTube video, and let me know if this is true for you. You're like, oh, like what kind of content should I create? And then you'll think, oh, this other thing just happened to me. Let me talk about it. Oh, I have a story. Let me share it. Right? Like, do you guys do that? Where it's just like kind of like random top of your head? You can
For
unmute yourself.
Yeah.
YouTube?
Yeah,
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Okay. It doesn't work because to get to that level of taste of knowing like I'm gonna create this video, something happened in my real life, and I'm just gonna like make a video about it and everyone's gonna watch it. You kind of have to really understand your audience to know they want that. But if you're growing your audience from, like you're at less than 10K subs, you probably don't know your audience super well. Meaning that's why those freestyle ideas aren't going to work. Like it doesn't, people might argue like, oh, like just like express yourself or whatever, right? I disagree because, there's a difference between art and design, and YouTube is more like design. Okay, art is like, I express myself. This is my true feeling. If you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't, right? If you take that approach, don't expect anyone to pay you money, right? Because like you said, they like it or they don't. And a lot of people aren't going to like it. Design is more like you're going to sit down and think, okay, what do people want? How can I express myself in a way that fits, like solves a problem that they have? So it's not pure expression. It's more designing a solution. You know what I mean? And I think that's where most people starting out get it wrong, right? Like I talk to a lot of people who, think about joining a program or like building a personal brand. They always say this, and it's one of my pet peeves. It's, I have a story. That's the worst thing for me to hear, right? They're like, oh, it's about me, 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 me. Oh, everyone will love, whatever I just accomplished. No, they don't. They don't care. Okay. What they care about is they have a problem. You have a solution. You can integrate your story into the solution to give yourself some flavor and differentiate yourself, but don't have an ego and be like, oh, like everyone's going to care about like my experience. They usually don't, unless you've done something. No, even if you've done something amazing, they only think in the context of themselves, right? It's like, oh, this person did something amazing. I want to be like them. Then that makes sense because they have a problem, right? But don't try to just be like, oh, I'm so cool. Does it make sense? Okay. Now, for the ideas, it's really as simple as this. You create, and I think we talked about it in the last session. You create a new YouTube, okay? And you follow all the people you take inspiration from. Okay? And then you can also create another YouTube. It could be your personal one where you just like follow stuff you like. Right? So we have a mix of both. So the first one, like, so I'll have separate YouTube channels where I'm following every competitor, everyone I take inspiration from. So it's like a lot of the business guru kind of people, right? Because I want to know what's going on in the space. And every time somebody comes out with a new angle or a fresh video that is an outlier, okay, outlier, important, I save that. I literally take a screenshot and I save it for later, okay? So when I come up with ideas, it's not like I'll just, come up with a random idea. I need to actually base it off of an outlier someone else created. This alone will dramatically increase your results on YouTube. Okay. So
Can you talk more about what makes something an outlier?
yeah. So okay, so just go on my channel. I don't have it on this one, but basically, if you use a tool called vidIQ, right, it'll populate like a little number here, and it'll be like, oh, like this video got like 3 times more views than Patrick's usual videos, right? So what you want to do is you want to go on a person's channel and you see which videos are have been performing really well above others recently. Okay, you don't want to go too far in the past. So I'm looking at what's performing this month personally, or what's performing like in the last 3 months, right? The fresher, the better. So like for example, if like in the past, one video popped off for me, which was it's like how to build a personal brand here. How to build a personal brand with AI, right? So this one actually did a lot of work for me. You know, we booked a lot of calls from this one in particular. Now, if I was a competitor to Patrick Dang and I saw this video come out and it's blowing up, I'm copying it. You know, I'm gonna take a screenshot of the video, right? Then I'm gonna, save it to Figma or something, and then I'll think about like, okay, this one's like how to build a profitable personal brand from scratch. So what's my angle that I can take on this? Right? Like you don't even have to watch a video sometimes. Sometimes you just need to look at the idea, the title, and the thumbnail, and you can kind of like see how you can take inspiration from it. Okay. And something I want to be clear about is the idea of stealing versus inspiration, right? The way I look at it is most people are not stealing enough. Okay. So what does that mean? Everybody copies everybody, whether you're at the top or at the bottom. Okay, people copy my thumbnails, they copy my titles, sometimes they copy the video itself. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Right? It's like free. It's like, everybody has the same information. Everybody has ChatGPT, right? So you're probably not stealing as much as you should. Like there are some photos where I'll literally take like it was actually I'll show you which one it was. I won't show you the reference, but it was this one. So for this particular photo, right? I saw another guy who was a designer take a similar photo, okay? Like similar composition. And it really stood out to me on my feed. So I literally had somebody take a photo of me in the same angle, same iPad positioning and pencil, similar light in the background, similar colors, but then I changed the graphics of it. I combined another thumbnail I had with the composition. Now, think about like I went through great lengths to mimic what I saw work, right? It's not like I just took a random picture and said, yeah, that looks good. Because what do I know? I'm not a director of photography. So if you just copy and just kind of do it a little bit differently, it works. And nobody can say like, oh, like you copied the angle. Nobody owns the IP to an angle. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of people, they feel like, oh, it feels so bad to copy or whatever. No, actually, like people at the top, they're doing it every day, like every day, right? So I think Virgil Abloh had a really good quote on this. If you know this guy, uh, so he did like let's say like his Nike sneakers, right? So he had these sneakers, and this was, if you follow streetwear, it was a hit. Like this thing was like the hypest shoe, at the time. And if you know anything about sneakers, you would understand. You're like, wait a minute, aren't these just the normal sneakers that they sell in the store? That's the Air Jordan, that's a Blazer, it's Air Force One. That's what is this? Like Converse, yeah. And all he did was what? Change the material, put quotes here, put a little tag here, and put the freaking shoelace quotations on the shoelace. And everyone's going crazy, like, oh my God, this is like a new, the evolution of sneakers. But he has this rule of like he just changed something by 3%. Take something that already exists, just change it a little bit, and it's yours. Right? Simple as that. And he openly admits everything this guy is known as one of the greatest designers of our generation. Used to be creative director of Louis Vuitton, and he's stealing ideas all day. That's all he does, and he just changes it by 3%. And this is creative director of Louis Vuitton in the time, right? So same thing with thumbnails. Like if you can do that being the creative director of LV, you can do it with thumbnails. Not that big of a deal. Okay. So just getting that idea in your head is probably the most important, because if you can copy properly and just remix a little bit, you can basically learn anything. Like not just thumbnails, titles, scripts, literally anything. It's just copying, right? Every great person in front of you, they copy their way there. You know what I mean? Like if you learn sales, who do you copy from? The people around you, right? If you learn content, who do you learn from? The people around you or what you see online. Everybody copies everybody. Does that make sense? Yeah? No?
Yeah, this is
You feeling me?
amazing.
Okay,
This is
cool.
yeah.
So now, basically, when you're coming up with ideas, all you got to do is just go on your YouTube, the new accounts that you created. And this is not my account, by the way. This is like a fresh account, so it's just like random. But let me see if I can just go to the other stuff. Yeah, I can go here. Okay, so this is the one I use, right? Yeah. So this is the one I personally use for the info product kind of stuff. So you see like the feed is tailored to me for like how to grow on YouTube, how to design a info product, like that kind of stuff. And so when I'm coming up with ideas or looking for ideas, I'll just see like what's cool, you know? And even things outside of my niche, like let's say this is a rap video, right? Not in my niche at all. But when I look at it, I'm like, that's a pretty interesting thumbnail. The color grade looks pretty good. So maybe I'll save that, steal the color grade for my next photo shoot, right? So you can steal in different ways. And then the outliers I was talking about is like this number here, right? So like this guy, he put out a video, it's like 0.9 his usual videos. So it's like, okay, it's not that great. But this guy, this video right here is like 3xing. And I know I've seen this trend where it's like you're doing like the rainbow color thing in level 1 to 7 or whatever, right? So I'm like, okay, like this is like the 5th time I've saw this trend. Maybe I should jump on it because clearly it's getting views for people, right? And yeah, basically you just like copy and paste ideas, put it on a board, and then think, okay, which one do I want to build off of? Right. So let's say I'm like, oh, okay, this one's pretty sick. So I would just basically screenshot that, drop it in Figma, right? And I'll probably have like 10 different ideas. And then I'll be like, okay, building my dream life. I get why people want to watch this. And then it's interesting because he's only 21. So like, how did he get here at 21? So what's my remix? It could be building my dream life, me sitting down at a table like this, and then maybe I'm overlooking the skyline of Vietnam, right? And then, you can see how I can like kind of mimic the feeling of the video like pretty easily, right? And then even for like the text, like I said before, it's not about having the most amazing design, because to do this, it's so simple. It's literally just like a font. It's like when I was designing, let's say, hold on, let me try to find it. Like this thumbnail, it's like the same idea, right? It's just like pick a font, make sure the typography and spacing looks right, and then make it glow a little bit, which is just the drop shadow. That's it. So it's the photo that carries it, right? It's the idea, the packaging of it, right? So if you took this idea, for example, you're already like, it's not a guaranteed hit, but the chance of it working is really high, relative to any random idea you would take. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
like,
good.
yeah, but thumbnails, like, they're simpler than you think. Let's say like someone like Dan Martell, right? So he's pretty popular. Now, if you study his thumbnails, is it really that complicated? You know what I mean? Is it really like come on, it's really cut out of him, blue background, and then the text on the top of the head. Whoa, it was so innovative. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
simple, it's clean, right?
So
So go ahead.
So one thing I'm noticing on his page, and something that I was just about to ask, is that when you're grabbing inspiration, grabbing different ideas,
Hmm.
and making it your own, to me it seems like there has to be some through line of your consistency as, like, like for him, he's in a blue shirt. like a blue t-shirt and almost like every single one of his videos, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so there has to be like some sense of, and like he's like looking into the camera. It's
Yeah.
like a front head-on shot. So it
Yeah.
seems like there has to be some, and like for your videos too, right? A lot of you, it's like you at the desk,
Mm-hmm.
and there's black, and so it seems like there is like a
Like a theme.
consistent aesthetic, yeah, consistent theme, right? So
Yeah.
how do you both pick inspiration, but also like where's the balance between exploration, making your own, and then copying?
Yeah. So honestly, like you should just, this is what I do. I look at the best and I copy. Okay. The reality is I'm not like, you know, like there are people who are creative directors that they do it all day, 10 hours a day, right? Like you're not going to beat them. So you just want to like stand on the shoulder of giants, right? So let's say I got the inspiration for my setup from John Wick. There was a scene in I think it's like Japan, John Wick 4, Japan scene. Like I literally watched this movie and then there was a scene where they were fighting in this particular place, right? Which is CGI, I learned, by the way. And then I'm like, wow, like this color grade is like pretty sick, you know? So basically, I took this, I put it on a mood board, and then I told my team, like, all right, guys, so for the new aesthetic, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make everything dark. Okay. So I want to give off this like mysterious aura kind of vibe. Then the key here is we got to make the tint a little bit more blue-ish, but not too blue like this. And then we're going to use like these white lights to kind of accent the background. And one of the key things that I thought was really cool was they made the blacks very black. So it's like so I think that's something that people don't think about too much. So there's different layers of black, like very deep black, middle black, kind of light black, right? And so I realized the deeper your blacks go, the more cinematic it looks. So if I wear a black shirt, but then the background's even darker than my shirt, it creates like some kind of depth a little bit, right? So that for aesthetically, that's how I came to my own conclusion on what I wanted it to look like. And I'm always like changing it. So it's not like something that's set in stone. Um, so yeah, for me that works, but also it's like I'm not coming up with this like just randomly. I'm pattern matching, right? I'm looking at things that, you know, look at things that already work. And then when I see a pattern of like, okay, like this movie did it, this music video did it, this YouTuber did it, it works, then I'm going to take that. So I need to kind of see something multiple times before I recognize like, okay, I can see how I can use it. Right. So like the idea of like having deep blacks, I see many movies do it. I see some cinematic YouTube videos do it. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, it looks good. You know? So you don't have to be an expert in like this kind of stuff. You just need to see it enough times and recognize like, oh, okay, like it worked in like 3 scenarios. So it's probably gonna work for me. You know?
That's good. Yeah, that's great. Um, what about our own kind of like recording space, like our
Okay.
studio space?
Okay.
Like, does there need to be kind of a consistency between the thumbnail and what's actually in the video?
Uh, I find no, not really. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think for me at least, right? As long if you're showing your face and in the video you're like talking head style, you're fine. Like you don't have to wear the same shirt. So let's say this one I'm wearing a gray shirt in the thumbnail, right? But in the actual video I'm wearing a black one. Yeah, nobody cares, right? This one I'm wearing white in the thumbnail, but I'm wearing black inside the video itself. So, but it's just more about the person, right? Yeah. And then for me, yeah, I've been, my personal style is just, my whole closet is basically 90% black and 10% white. And then once in a while I'll have a blue, but that's just my personal style. And that's why it looks the way it does. It's just a reflection of me. And
Yeah.
for setup, you know, does it matter? Yes, it does, but maybe not as much as you think. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's clean, I think that's the most important thing. As long as it's clean, right? Because I've
What do you
done
think about
setup.
my background right here?
It's pretty clean, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, I mean, it's it works, right? It's like a guitar, like I think for what you're teaching, it makes sense. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
it doesn't. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for me, the way I think about it is, how does your background influence someone to think of you in a certain way that benefits you? Right. So before in my videos, I didn't even think about using my window. So I was always in the same place filming, but then like in these videos, it's like I would just not show like where I live, you know? So it would just be like inside in a room, right? But then over here it's the same view. So later on, like in the last year, I'm like, wait a minute, why am I doing the videos like this when like I have this nice view? And so that's what I started using, because back then I was just teaching tech sales, so I didn't really think about like, selling the dream, right? Now I'm kind of selling the idea of like, hey, like you can quit your job and build an online business. So what better way to show people that I did it than by showing them where I live? So it's just a strategic decision. Yeah. So like if you can control the way people think about you, then you win. You know, it's like one of those things that you just make a quick judgment on you in the first you know, like 5 seconds essentially, right? So I mean that's why people like pose in front of a Lambo. It's the same idea, but it's like how can you do it differently, right? Because if I do like let's say a Lambo, yeah, it's going to attract certain people, but maybe not the people I want to work with, if you get what I'm saying. Make sense? Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think your setup is fine to like, just like make the first videos, Like my setup when I first started, I literally was doing it in my parents' bedroom. Then I bought these like concrete wallpapers for like 40 bucks and I just pinned it onto the wall to make it look like I was like like a concrete studio or whatever, right? Just my parents' house. So does it matter? Not really. Like just make the video, I think, in the beginning. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think lighting will actually make any setup look decent. Like you can make an empty room look good if you have the right lighting. One last thing I want to touch on the ideas before we get into the scripts is this. I share this in the other videos, but I want to share it again because it's super important. So it's just the adoption curve, right? Okay, I'm lagging too much to do this correctly. Hold on. Let me just do it like one step at a time. There we go. Yeah, let's go. Okay. So the key, especially if you're in a competitive niche, is really just to, let me see if I can do this right. Okay. Yeah. I should probably get a streaming computer. Is this right? Okay, you know what? What's it called again? Adoption curve. I'll just like screenshot it. All right, you guys seen this before? Right. For any like new trends, like this is how it kind of works.
Yeah.
So again, the whole theme of this session is like you just gotta steal, read the book Steal Like an Artist. It'll teach you everything you need to know on stealing. Um, Basically for fresh ideas, like you don't necessarily want to be the innovator because like it may work, it may not work, right? And if you don't have the taste, you're not gonna make it work. You don't want to be late because then it's already played out. You want to be right here. You want to be an early adopter. Okay. So most beginners, what they'll do is they'll see like a Dan Martell or a Iman Gadzhi make a video, right? By the time it hits them, you've got like 1,000 people copying the thumbnail, the title, and the idea already. So we're like here. Okay. If everyone makes the same video about the same topic and they have the same thumbnail and title and you're late and the biggest creators have already made a video about that thing, you're not going to get views because it's saturated, like literally, right? So what you got to do instead is you got to find like people who are like around here, like people who are innovating, people who are really quick to adopt new trends. And you just got to like, when you see a couple people do a similar idea and it'll work for them, that's when you steal it. Okay, so when I see a small YouTube channel with like 10K subs and they just are going viral with like this random video, right? I'll steal that idea because it's a winning idea that the market wants right now. Okay. So, a lot of big creators, they actually just steal ideas from smaller creators all the time, like all the time. And so it's just like, how fast can you jump on the trend? Right. So, like certain videos I've done, especially around the personal brand content, I was kind of early to it, because I saw like the whole personal brand wave was coming, um, like maybe like 8 months ago ish. And once I kind of realized that keyword was hitting and everyone was like, oh, personal branding will change your life, I just made a bunch of personal branding videos because I basically hopped on the trend when it was around here and I just kept riding it until the wheels fell off. And then now the wheels kind of fell off where everybody teaches personal branding. And so now we have to find a new angle. Okay. So, but like one good video can like completely change your YouTube channel, like it really can. So yeah, so when you're making ideas and let's say it's not working, you're trying to troubleshoot, right? You have to ask yourself, okay, where am I on this adoption curve? And am I getting like a fresh idea? Am I following the right people? Or am I late? And most people are late because they're not even thinking about it in this way, right? Just because the idea worked 20 times for 20 other creators doesn't mean it's going to work for you because you might be late. So the more later you are, the better your packaging and video have to be. But when you're early and there's demand but low supply, you don't have to be as good, right? So early is, better in general. That's why I spend more time looking for ideas than I do creating the idea. Does that make sense?
In terms of like trends, like how do you, I mean, I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
at the earliest, like you don't really, I feel like it's hard to know what's going to blow, right?
Mm,
So how do, or I don't know, maybe it's not like, maybe you have more signals. So what are the signals that you look for? You're like, okay, this is the thing that's going viral. Like this is the thing that's trending up.
right.
Is it just the,
It's just the outlier scores. Like,
okay.
yeah, yeah. So it's really as simple as like you go on your feed and you just see like how many views it got, and you just see the outlier score. Like that's all it is at the end of the day. Like
Okay.
once you develop taste in your market, you'll like scroll your feed and then you'll be like, oh wow, like uh let's say you're in stocks. Okay, Japanese stock market is cooked, 3.2x. So if you're following stocks and you're like, oh, you know what? A lot of US people, they want to know what's going on in China. And this video just hit. So if I made a video about this, probably gonna hit too.
Mm, gotcha.
That's really all it is. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this one
Okay.
earlier. Like, okay, so like let's say this one, right? So what YouTube actually pays a medium-sized creator? This one's hitting, dude. 28K views, um, you know, 3.6x his normal videos. Thumbnail's pretty sick. I've seen this before, but just like a little bit, like someone sitting on a chair and then it's like text. It's a trend.
Yeah.
I've seen another guy do it and his video also blew up. So now in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I've seen two creator style videos doing the same style thumbnail, so it works, right? So then when I
Yeah.
look at this, I'm like, all right, if I were to steal this idea, I'm gonna set up a chair in my office, everything minimal. I don't know, try to find some kind of weird object to put my laptop on, and then probably do like something, maybe something about YouTube or content creation, and then take it from there, right? So like that, this is like a winning packaging to me. All right. And then so I would still find more ideas. And then by when I get kind of tired of like, okay, I got a bunch of ideas, like which one do I pick? I just pick the best one. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's blowing my mind. Yeah.
Really, why is it blowing your mind? Like, is it like what
Because I
about?
was like, I did not think about packaging at all.
Mm,
Like I was like, the packaging is like the last 5% of what I think. I know you're laughing, but like, because I'm always like, oh, what's the content and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but everything you're saying makes sense, and you
Yeah.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm
It's
an engineer, I'm always thinking about like product.
yeah. It's you know, the messenger is more important than the message a lot of times.
Yeah,
Yeah. So obviously the message matters in the long run, right? If you're not saying anything good, no
yeah,
one's going to watch. But for people starting out, it doesn't matter how good your message is, like until you get views.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's actually this one guy I found. What's his name? Professor Jang, I think. China. Yeah, dude, this guy's blowing up, man. So what's his like main channel? Basically, okay, so like let's talk about like why I think this is interesting. Professor Jang. I'm trying to find his main channel. Yeah, pretty all right. So like it's like, dude, his profile picture, it's literally like the default like P, you know? And every video he's putting out, dude, like 500,000 views, million views. All these clipping channels are like clipping his content, millions of views. So like why why is this working? Right? Because he's only been doing YouTube for like 2 years, and only recently it caught fire. It's like thumbnails are just like what's going on, right? Like they're not even like thumbnails. So it's packaging, you know? Now, based on everything I've been talking about so far, let's analyze like why this packaging is interesting, right? It's like he's pretty smart in he's saying things everyone's thinking, but they just don't really know where to find information about it. So a lot of it is like, oh, the secret history of how evil triumphs or how power works. And you feel like, oh, he's exposing the real system of how the world is ran. So sometimes it's like your personality combined with like these taboo topics, something you don't expect. And then when you actually watch it, he really knows what he's talking about. And to me, that just hits really well. It's different.
Yeah,
There's just nobody like him, like doing it like this, right? And yeah, I mean, like that's just like an example of like something so simple, like very minimal, like YouTube polishing, but the angle at which he's coming from is just really good. Like dark, you know, topics everyone's afraid to talk about, things that people would probably feel like they'll get canceled for. And he's a Chinese guy living in China, teaching at like a high school. It's like what? That makes no like what? Isn't he afraid to like, go to jail in China? I thought China was, they censored free speech, right? And so like all these questions come up for Westerners. That's why they want to click. Because he also criticizes China too. So it's like you're like, oh, that's I didn't, well, makes you rethink what
mm,
you knew about the world. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, what the word that you use is taste, and that feels like um, I think I'm starting to get it.
Hmm.
Like you have to, it's the aesthetic, the taste, knowing what your demographic likes, and then but then there's also the alignment with who you are and like the uniqueness of you, and connecting with what's trending, what's hot. And I can see like like that equation, that formula is what creates success.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. That's a really good way to synthesize it, right? It's like knowing what's cool, what's hot, what people want now, and then adding your flavor to it, which is your personal brand, right? Like your perspective, you know?
Yeah,
So like for me, I know everybody wants to build a personal brand, they want to make money online. A lot of people teach it. So what's my angle? I kind of go for the more digital nomad, like, hey, I'm living in Asia. I escape my 9 to 5. Like that's my angle. Whereas another person, maybe they're living in America and they have to do a whole different angle, right? So it just depends what angle you want to take. It's like same story, just different. It's like everyone has the same message, different messenger. So you can theoretically get all the same information on ChatGPT, right? But not everybody wants to like sit down with ChatGPT and like, have a conversation with it. They just want to watch a video. So the messenger, like you can even argue that everything he's talking about, you can probably find on AI too. But it's interesting because he is talking about it and the way he tells the story is engaging.
Mm.
Yeah. So the messenger, very, 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 very important in this day and age, in the era of AI, you know?